when it comes to any of the grain products, and again, oatmeal, I would say, as far as the quality of them, is one of the best. Ideally, you want to go with a steel-cut oat, not the stuff you throw in the microwave. There's a lot more nutrition in that whole processing principle. Here's the problem.
Wait, let me interrupt.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because I do that in microwave thing in the morning, I have to say.
Yeah.
Because it's fast.
It's fast.
So what's wrong with putting it in the microwave?
Well,
you know, Quaker oats. I mean, I use Quaker oats.
Most of those, if you could go with an old-fashioned, it's still going to be better than. But again, it gets into those grain concepts. If you go with steel-cut oats, it's going to have a lot more fiber to it. It's going to be much more in its natural state. And then you get into a standard Quaker oats, like the old-fashioned, and then you get into the instant stuff. And the farther you go from there, usually the more food takes time to prepare, usually the better it is for you.
Now, when you say steel-cut, is there a brand that you recommend?
Any brand is still gonna have Trader Joe's.
Yeah, Trader Joe's. So even Vaughn's has the steel cut, different types. They have the whole grain steel cut, and they have the regular.
Now, one thing I was going to mention, because there is a lot of details in these. There's a big picture and then there's a tiny picture. The big picture is eating balanced, eating the right amount, and then going about it being active. That will keep most people healthy. Now, if somebody has high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, has had a heart attack, has ulcers, a whole bunch of has sprue, celiac disease, allergic reactions, then you have to get very specific.
Exactly, more and more customized.
It's very specific, and it makes a huge difference. But for a generally healthy young person growing up, the most important thing is a balanced diet. Stay away from the refined and more into the vegetables and rough. But you can have, they can have eggs, regular eggs. They're growing, they're going to use it. They need it. The brain is 95% fat. We need those sources. But it does change as we get a little older.
And I think when it comes to the oatmeal, my overall recommendation to people is you can definitely have it. You can have it on a daily basis. It's as far as a breakfast source. The problem is if you only have oatmeal by itself, if you look at the different things, protein, carbs, fat, it basically serves as a carbohydrate. So if you're going to have oatmeal, make sure you add some protein to it. Maybe have some egg whites mixed in. Maybe mix in a little bit of protein powder into your oatmeal, which is totally fine. Just making sure that you're getting that good quality protein, which are those essential amino acids. The key is this: is that if you're having protein for dinner, let's say you're having a piece of fish or some chicken, and that's at 5, 6 o'clock at night, and then you're going all the way 12, 13 hours at 7 o'clock in the morning, your body needs more protein and more healthy oils. And if you're just feeding it a carbohydrate by itself, it's really not the best call. Your energy levels are going to be sacrificed, as well as your body's not going to be using, it might actually start hitting your muscle cells as your fuel source. So what I usually try to tell people is that you get a little bit of protein in the morning every day. That's really your most important meal is breakfast. And if you're going to have the oatmeal, great, but make sure you add some sort of protein source to it.
How about Cheerios?
No. Go ahead.
How about Cheerios?
Cheerios. It depends on the, you mean Cheerios? Because that's mostly carbohydrate, I think, right? Yeah. And they're marketed, and it gets us a little bit into the marketing thing, because Cheerios are being marketed as good for your heart. I've seen the commercials myself.
What about regular brand instead of the oatmeal?
Just to finish the question on the Cheerios. I'm sorry. It's not going to hurt you if you eat a small amount. It is carbohydrate. It's like having sugar, but it's not as good nutritionally as oatmeal. It won't lower your cholesterol to the same extent. Oatmeal has more bran in it, more fiber, and it will lower the cholesterol naturally because of the fiber. So I would say if you can, what you could do is a compromise is, and it's okay, you can have some oatmeal and sprinkle a couple of Cheerios on top of it. Exactly. Or you could put some almonds. I use some almonds sometimes as a source of protein and stuff and fat. Yeah, but it's all a matter also of quantity. And it's hard to change eating habits, but after a while you develop a taste for it. I used to hate oatmeal. I really did. You couldn't make me eat oatmeal for years. I mean, I tried it, and I just couldn't. And then gradually, when you know that, hey, you have to do something better, because if you can't really tolerate medications that well for cholesterol, you've got to change the diet. And with diet, vegetarians or people in Africa that are mostly still hunter-gatherers, they've done the studies in some of the tribes, they don't have cholesterol problems. Same with the Japanese that eat traditional fish and rice, and they don't overeat. Because it's hard to, it's still a sustenance type of society. It's not, a lot of our illnesses are because we have so much. We can eat whatever we want, whenever we want to, relatively inexpensively. Other societies where that isn't the case, they hardly have any coronary disease. They just don't have it. But they have other problems. They have problems with infections. Sometimes they have cancers or accidents, but people die younger in Africa. But that's because there's no medical care for other problems. But they don't have the coronary artery disease. They don't have the high cholesterol. They don't get really fat, very, very, very little. And sometimes if they get trained and with a little bit of nutrition, they can be the fastest runners in the world, like we see in the marathons and some of the Kenyans and stuff. So it is all relative. But you can change the diet. It takes time, and it's a plan. You got to want to. But a lot of people don't even know that it makes such a big difference. I think that's part of it. The traditional breakfast of eggs and bacon and pancakes. I mean, that was Sunday morning. It was a celebration. Go to IHOP or whatever. It's not right, and yet that's what we have to change, and that's what we're dealing with.
The nutrition is truly the foundation. I'll just give you a quick example. This weekend they had one of those ultimate fighting events, and they had one of the heavyweight guys get up there. He's one of the best fighters in the world, and the guy's got a big belly. He looks like an overweight individual. Works out 8 to 10 hours a day, and it's a perfect example to show you how foundationally important the nutrition is. Because his nutrition is not dialed in, he doesn't even look like he even exercises, and it just lets you know, well, this guy's doing 8 to 10 hours. If you guys can get in a half hour to an hour a day, it would be fantastic. And it just shows you that the way you're going to really change your body and change your health is through the food you're putting in your system, much more than just the exercise. The exercise is definitely essential, but that foundational thing is eating right. And what you need to do is say, okay, I'm at this set point right here. The standard American diet's over here. Somebody who's perfect on nutrition is over here. I just need to benchmark myself compared to myself and start making gradual improvements, versus say, oh, well, I've got to be perfect overnight, because that will never work. Or say, oh, well, my friends are out having beers tonight, so if I only have 3 instead of the 5 that they're having, there's different justifications. So you need to look at yourself on that scale and see what kind of incremental improvements can you make every day. Maybe adding something in, saying, okay, I'm going to make the addition of this particular food, and the other things will gradually start to fall off.